Where the Cowboys, shell-shocked by the Giants, and now 2 games off the pace in the NFC East, face a frustrated Cardinal squad they barely edged 2 weeks ago. And live, this is sold-out Metropolitan Stadium with Minnesota, after routing division-leading Detroit, facing Tampa Bay, the defending NFC Central champions, who open a 6-week season against division foes.
3 coaches went from the NFL to the college ranks: Dan Devine, Chuck Fairbanks, and Lou Holtz. Now a 4th NFL coach will be following. More on this later.
Will New England furl its colors again late in the campaign? Or is this the year the Patriots fire a shot heard round the world? Irv visited their camp to find out. And I'll look at Green Bay's injury-riddled Lynn Dickey, who climbed out of the Valley of Despair earlier this season to become one of the hottest hands in the league. And it's all coming up right here on the NFL Today.
The NFL Today is, here's Brent Musburger.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Week 11 of this NFL season, the big showdown, the Los Angeles Rams and the New England Patriots. We can take you live to Foxborough, where the Rams have been on the march for the last 1 minute. It was just Ferragamo hitting Hicks, and Hicks getting down to the 1-yard line. Now, here come the Rams. It is scoreless right now, and because they were just shy of a first down, they are going to set up and let Frank Corral attempt a field goal. The wind has been swirling. This may not be an easy chip shot, but you would think that Corral could come away with it.
It's an extra point. They did score the touchdown. It's an extra point.
It's an extra point. All right. Hicks was in on the touchdown pass. They were not shy. So now let us show you the play, because it was very close. Ferragamo was coming out of a tight formation, and he went to Hicks, and we want you to take a look at it. This was the 3rd down situation for the Rams against New England. Here it is right here, Irv.
Ferragamo going back, looking upfield, wants to go to his left all the way. Hits Hicks coming in a crossing pattern, gets right in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown.
Good call by the officials. Let's take you to the scoreboard. It's reflected up there right now. 7-0 after you catch the extra point. The Rams over New England. All right, New Orleans and Atlanta, and the Saints are ahead of the Falcons 7-3. Saints struck first on an Archie Manning touchdown pass to Wes Chandler in that game. Green Bay trailing the New York Giants on the Giants' first offensive play of the game. Sims went 50 yards to Ernest Gray. Danilo kicked the extra point. The Steelers have just scored on a Bradshaw touchdown pass. They now lead the Browns 7-0. That game is in the 2nd period. Baltimore ahead of Detroit. It was a Curtis Dickey run of 1 yard that put the Colts ahead of the suddenly stumbling Lions. Buffalo and Cincinnati are scoreless, and a game many of you in Texas are keenly interested in. The Philadelphia Eagles lead the Washington Redskins. It has been easy so far. Let's show you just how easy. Watch here, Ron Jaworski going to Keith Krepfle, 7 yards, and after the Franklin extra point, it was 7-0. Jaworski again, 14 yards to Spagnola, and it was 14-0, and Jimmy the Greek with the Redskins in serious trouble again today. I've got to ask you now about Jack Pardee.
I think he'll retire at the end of the year and go to college coaching.
He would be a coach to where?
I'm going to take a shot with Texas A&M.
Oh, the switchboard just lit up down there in College Station. They're going nuts. Speaking of college football, let's show you what happened yesterday and then give you the bowl matchups. Most of them are set right now. The favorite for the Heisman Trophy would be that marvelous South Carolina running back, George Rogers. And here he comes against Wake Forest. They edge Wake Forest 39-38, and Rogers with 2 touchdowns, 177 yards rushing. And so at halftime, the University retired number 38. Meanwhile, you're watching Auburn in action against Georgia. and the left-handed quarterback, Charles Thomas, going to Byron Franklin, and Auburn looked like they might upset Georgia for the third straight time. But then the Bulldogs came back. Block punt, Freddie Gilbert scooped it up and went 27 yards for the touchdown, and it was 10-7 Georgia on the lead. Georgia then iced the victory on this Herschel Walker reverse, 18-yard touchdown. Georgia heads for the Sugar Bowl, and an appointment with Notre Dame. 31-21 is the final. Meanwhile, out west, Washington is about to prove that they deserve to go to the Rose Bowl. In the third quarter against SC, Ray Horton busts this punt return 73 yards, and it gave the Huskies a 10-3 lead over SC. Underrated quarterback right here, Tommy Flick. Watch him go to Paul Skansky. 17-3, Washington over SC. But the Trojans came back. They went to a gadget play, and Marcus Allen, who rushed for 216, also passed to Jeff Simmons for this Trojan touchdown. But the Trojan rally is cut short. In the final minute, Jerry McClain picked off this Trojan pass to send the Huskies to the Rose Bowl, and it snapped SC's 28-game unbeaten streak. Meanwhile, in the Southwest Conference, here's big Walter Abercrombie of the Baylor Bears. Baylor beats Rice 16-6, and afterwards, Baylor accepts the Cotton Bowl invitation and an appointment with Alabama. So a rundown now on the bowls. There's the Baylor-Alabama game you'll see on New Year's Day. Sugar Bowl, Georgia-Notre Dame in New Orleans. Orange Bowl, the winner of the Oklahoma-Nebraska game against Florida State. And the Rose Bowl, Washington against the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game. Gator Bowl will match South Carolina and Rogers against a very tough Pittsburgh defensive unit. In the Fiesta Bowl, the loser Ohio State-Michigan will take on Penn State. In the Sun Bowl, loser Oklahoma-Nebraska matched against Mississippi State, which earlier beat Alabama. Bluebonnet Bowl, North Carolina against Texas. And in the Peach Bowl, Virginia Tech versus undetermined yet. And finally, the Liberty Bowl will be Missouri against Purdue. Irv Cross, did you have a late update on the NFL? You were ecstatic over there a moment ago.
Atlanta's inside the 4-yard line. They're fourth in goal from the 1-yard line. I don't know if they're going to go for a field goal or a touchdown here, but they've almost scored several. They're going to go for the touchdown. The New Orleans defense has really been tough for there, Brent. Atlanta's had 4 shots inside the 4. There's a pitch to Kane. Didn't make it.
Oh,
Great goal line
kicked
stand.
a field goal. What a terrible decision.
That was a horrible decision.
What a horrible.
Yeah.
The NFL Today continues on CBS in just a moment. Cockcroft just missed an extra point, so Pittsburgh now leads Cleveland by a score of 7-6. It was Sipe to Newsome for the Brown touchdown.
Sipe is really good. I interviewed him 3 years ago, and now he's coming alive. Now for the big story.
Maybe you'll go back, huh?
Stop.
You're going to forget about it? 3 years ago, huh?
We'll go back and interview him if he does well this week. Well, listen, Danny White squeaked it out, 2 games ago against St. Louis and won it. And St. Louis is probably looking for
What
a big
happened to him
revenge.
last week?
Well, do you know? Danny's one of my best friends. I'd like to interview him this Tuesday, in fact. And let's go to Frank Lieber. Brent, what are you doing? Frank Lieber with Benny Barnes. Frank, help me out of this. Frank.
Phyllis, it is wet in Dallas and probably going to get wetter. Cowboys have been victimized by averaging better than 310 yards passing per game over the last 3 weeks. They're making a big change in the secondary this afternoon and bringing back Benny Barnes, who went down with the appendicitis attack the night before the season opener. Good to be back for you, I'm sure.
It's great to be back. It's going to feel real good to be back in that defensive huddle.
Steve Wilson is down with a hamstring. You think this is going to hurt his confidence?
I don't think so. Steve is a great ball player and a great competitor, and I think that the hamstring was just a thing that happened. It was tight last week, and it reoccurred in practice, and so I don't think it hurts confidence at all.
Well, you've got to shut down Jim Hart. That's very obvious. Benny Barnes will be starting in the defensive backfield for the first time for the Dallas Cowboys. Now back to Phyllis George.
Frank, you did a fine job on that. Wish I could have done as well on the introduction.
You know, Phyllis, we got a team in New England that I think has developed a lot of character. They trail the Rams right now 7-0, but they'll be back. Steve Grogan has proved that this year.
Well, they have a lot of firepower, Brent. They're a well-talented ball club. You know, in today's New England-Los Angeles game, it's more than just a matchup of stumbling teams in the thicker division races. Both the Rams and the Patriots have lost 2 of their last 3 games, and both teams have histories of fading in the stretch. The Rams finally shook that reputation last year when they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. But New England may be a team that is running out of next year's. The New England Patriots have been called the best team never to make it to the Super Bowl. Are they champions in waiting or late-season choke artists? The Patriots have been picked to win it all on several occasions, only to disappoint their fans each time. This year, however, there are signs that New England may have overcome past obstacles. Head coach Ron Earhart has provided steady leadership, and the Patriots are playing better. But still, they cannot completely forget past disappointments. When you hear the criticism that the Patriots choke in the big game, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the past, that's what it looks like. I don't know what it is. You know, I think a lot of it has to do with the type of atmosphere. People are always asking us that same type of question. They almost expect us to choke. I think, you know, we're starting to get over that because we're starting to do things now that we never did in the past. We're winning on grass. We're winning away. You know, things like that. We're beating the teams, the easy teams that used to, you know, jump up and surprise us and beat us. So we're on the right track this year. I think Coach Earhart's doing a fine job with us.
Right now, everybody together, get your assignment. Get your gun. Take a look at who's lined up where. May have some changes. Ready? Yeah!
Coach Earhart called to our attention that football's an emotional game, and maybe we hadn't been playing with as much emotion as we should have. I think the emotion was there, but I think guys were just kind of afraid to let it out. They're saying, this is a job, professional football. Why should I get excited? I'm not supposed to do that. And guys started loosening up, and we got guys now jumping on people's backs and patting them on the back, and that's the way football's supposed to be played. And it's just been a joy to be on this club this year because everybody's having fun being here.
Number 29, Harold Jackson, a former receiver for today's opponent, the Rams, sees many similarities between the Patriots and his old club.
When I was with the Rams, you know, the Rams supposed to have been a team that's supposed to have all the talent in the National Football League, and the Rams supposed to be able to go and win it all. And when I got here, with the same situation. The Pats have all the talent in the National Football League. We've been together now 3 and 4 years, and I think this team can win the big one. I don't think that's a cliche or nothing like that. People saying they can't do it now. I think we can, and I think we will.
So far, Jackson's optimism seems justified. But longtime veterans like Tim Fox, number 48, remain cautious.
I've been here 5 years, and it seems like every year I've been here, we've been thinking about going to the Super Bowl. And then when the season's over, we say, well, maybe next year. But I think finally there's some guys in the team that are realizing, you know, we may run out of those next years, and we'd like to get it all done this year.
Right now, they are not having much fun because the Ram defense is coming. It's still 7-0. Rams have the ball on their own 20-yard line, and the NFL Today continues on CBS in just a moment.
Less than 2 months, Lynn Dickey said, I'm not doing anything to help this team win football games. Whether there's a need for change or not, I don't know. But the Green Bay veteran then led a team some call the worst in the NFL on a 6-week surge into contention. The Pack came back in the same way its quarterback played through pain to overcome injuries that threatened his career. Green Bay's Lambeau Field, a site steeped in legends. To the south, in Osawatomie, Kansas, stands a stadium named for another legend, high school hero Lynn Dickey. Arriving at Kansas State, Dickey became the greatest passing quarterback in Big 8 history. Armed with conference records and lifted by success, he moved on to Houston, and later, Green Bay, and a more difficult destiny. Three serious injuries in 10 years, Lynn Dickey would never begin a season as a starting quarterback and finish it standing.
My first injury, there was so much pressure on my knee that it just drove my hip, dislocated it right, a posterior dislocation. You know, it just drove it right out my butt. And, you know, it didn't break the skin, but I think I'd have to contribute big thanks to a man named Gary Freeman, who was our team surgeon at that time. If he had not gotten it back in place as quick as he did, I probably wouldn't have been able to play again.
Dickey recovered from a dislocated hip and separated shoulder, only to meet disaster again in 1977.
In the last play of the game against the Rams, Larry Brooks hit me right in the shin bone, just snapped both bones. And a lot of the guys really actually walked off the field, and 3 or 4 of my linemen, you know, happened to look around and see my leg was lying over to a 90-degree angle, and, you know, they knew something was wrong, and so did I. And, you know, it's just another minor setback. You know, just give me the word that things are going to be okay, and I'll take it from there and get back. The most stabilizing influence in my life is started when I was a child, and with my brother, Larry. He had polio when he was 6. He's pretty crippled up right now. I don't have to look very far to find somebody, you know, that's gone through worse things than I have.
Suddenly, Green Bay is respectable again, thanks largely to Dickey, who's completed 130 of 202 passes in his last 6 games, and whose courage can't be measured by statistics.
Through all the times, you know, to say, why me? Why has all this happened to me? I figure there's a purpose for everything. Whatever the reason was, it was maybe a test for me to see how tough I was, maybe. I want them to say, well, at least there's a guy who just never gave up and gave you 100% every opportunity he had on the practice field and in the game.
Now let's take you live where Tom Burney is attempting a long field goal against the New York Giants, and it's way short of the mark. And so right now, the Packers and Lynn Dickey still trail the New York Giants 7-0. And the NFL Today continues on CBS with Jimmy the Greek in just a moment. Okay, Jimmy, we have got the Dallas Cowboys. They were embarrassed. Boy, that was a great game, though, when the Giants beat them last week. And here's St. Louis.
Yeah, and well, injuries to Cards linebackers again will hurt them tremendously. Niels and Kearney, especially to Kearney, who's out altogether. That Dallas Doomsday defense is going to have to come back and show that they really played a bad game against the Giants.
This surprises me somewhat. You still go with...
I always go with Hart. Yeah, every week, I always go with Hart.
You never believe in the youngsters.
No. Huh? Hart's better, that's all.
Okay, all right. I got Tampa Bay and Minnesota. I think the Vikes have appeared to be the best team in the NFC Central, at least the last couple of weeks.
They haven't made an error in so long. I mean, you know, they're 0-0 for errors. I mean, It's fantastic. Tampa Bay, their linebackers, only because of Dave Lewis. You know, he is good. The other kids aren't playing so well. Minnesota special teams will block a kick or win it by a nose again. That's about it.
Okay, well, all our fans down in Tampa and certainly around the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, keep an eye on
Everybody's live in an NFC Central.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody's live.
At 4-6, are only 2 games behind, Jimmy, and Peyton is matched against Campbell for the first time ever.
Yeah, 150 yards against 90. Now, who's going to get the 150? I think it'll be Houston. I tell you, it's strength against strength. Chicago's defensive line against Houston's offensive line, which is strong.
What if they get an icy blast off Lake Michigan?
Well, they're not going to get it. You told me that the weather was good, so that's good for Stabler. It's going to be a rough ball game. We'll just give the edge to Houston.
All right, Jimmy, we've got some slightly favored teams, too. Miami over San Francisco, San Diego over Kansas City, Denver over the Jets, and Oakland over Seattle. Couple of enormous college games next Saturday. We got Nebraska, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State. What does the Greek think? Back with that as the NFL Today continues in just a moment. I tell you that Ellis has just scored for the Packers, and if they kick the extra point, they'll be tied with the Giants. Now those 2 showdowns next week. Ohio State and Michigan, they annually play for the Big Ten Championship. And, Jimmy, who would you favor and by how many?
Ohio State's at home over Michigan. Well, that'd be a light touchdown.
A 6-point favorite. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Jimmy, is in Lincoln, and the Huskers are rolling. They lost only to Florida State.
I'm going to say a strong touchdown for Nebraska.
That's 7 points, folks. You have to really understand the Greek shorthand, but that's not the question that's on everyone's mind this week. Oh, the number 1 question is, and it'll be answered Friday night on CBS, come to think about it, who shot the man known as JR? Let's take a look at the list of characters. Who is the varminted guy? First, who shot JR? Now, before we turn you loose for the game you're going to enjoy, it's 7-7 as the Patriots have just gone in on the Rams in the second. New Orleans leading Atlanta. The Saints scored the first time they had the ball. Packers kicked the extra point, so they are tied with the Giants. The Browns on a bad snap misfire on an extra point, and they trail the Steelers 7-6. Baltimore leading Detroit 7-0. That game is in the second period. Buffalo over Cincinnati 7-0, also in the second. Philadelphia having an easy time of it so far. Now, at halftime, got a special feature for you. Some of the bright young quarterbacks of the NFL. See if Danny White made the list. For Phyllis and Irv and Jimmy the Greek, I'm Brent Musburger telling you that Cleveland now leads Pittsburgh 13-7. Way to go, Greek. We'll see you at halftime.
The NFL Today will continue after this word from your local station.
It couldn't be closer in the NFC Central Division. The fading Detroit Lions with Minnesota and Tampa Bay right behind. The Buccaneers now 4-5-1 after a loss last week to the champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Yet they passed for more than 300 yards in the game. Number 12, Doug Williams, hitting here a 26-yard score to an outstanding rookie receiver, Kevin House. And despite the loss, a good performance. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings are now all even at 5-5, having won their last 2 in a row. A week ago against the Detroit Lions, Tommy Kramer back in action after missing a week with injury, connecting here with Ted Brown, who had his best day as a Viking, catching 9 passes, rushing for 50 yards. Here he goes, 67 for the score as Minnesota whips the fading Lions 34-0. Today, the NFL on CBS presents the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Minnesota Vikings. Bloomington, Minnesota. Hello, everyone. Tim Ryan and Johnny Morris here on a brilliant sunshiny afternoon, and certainly very pleasant weather for a key matchup, and that Vikings defense has really come along.
Oh, they really have, Tim. They have allowed an average of only 10 points the last 5 games, and I think they culminated it with a great performance against the Lions last week. They had a big interception. They had 8 sacks. They forced 3 fumbles. They did everything to the Lions and won easily, as you know. Here's Gary Danielson under pressure from Matt Blair. This pressure caused an interception. Kurtnoff took it and went 67 yards for a touchdown. The Vikings have really arrived. The swarming front four has come along. It makes you kind of think of the Purple People Eaters of a few years ago.
Sure does. Mullaney, White, Sutherland, and Holloway, and all of a sudden, the old defensive days of the Vikings seem to have returned. On the other hand, they're facing a man who passed for 300 yards last week in Doug Williams.
Yes, Doug Williams did a good job. Tampa Bay actually should have won that game. Some key mistakes, as you know, cost the game, and they lost to the Steelers. If they got a big break here, it is really a beautiful day, nice and warm. And, of course, they always worry when they come from that warm Tampa Bay weather up here to this freezing Minnesota weather. I want to tell you, it is nice, sunny, probably, what, 50 degrees, something like that?
I'd say so. It's going to be perfect. Let's go down to the field. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be kicking off. The Vikings to our left in purple. The Bucks to our right in white. It's taken by Eddie Payton at the goal line, number 31. It's a good return, still going. The 35, the 40. Payton finally pulled down at the 44-yard line by Curtis Jordan. And so the Vikings start with excellent field position.
I think this might be an indication of a great football game. Eddie Payton hasn't really broken any for Minnesota, but he gets into the front four there, and then busts a couple of tackles, and if it hadn't been for Curtis Jordan, he would have gone all the way. Eddie Payton, brother of Walter Payton.
42-yard return for Eddie Payton. It is 44 degrees at kickoff time, and almost like Tampa Bay. The Bucs should feel right at home here this afternoon. Very unusually warm weather for Minnesota this time of year. And so the Vikings start first and 10. In motion is Sammy White. Kramer, the quarterback, quickly to Sammy White. Behind the screen, the Bucs shut it down very effectively. A gain of 2 at the most. And we'll take a look at that offensive line of the Vikings. Steve Riley and Ron Yary coming off the injured foot. Jim Huff back in action. Wes Hamilton at guards. Dennis Swilley at center. The running backs are Ricky Young and Ted Brown, 34 and 23. Rashad and White with Bob Tucker at tight end. And there is Joe Sensor coming in now. On second down is the tight end replacing Tucker. Joe Sensor, Bob Tucker, and Bob Brewer all get a lot of action at tight end for the Vikings. It is 2nd and 8 after a gain of 2 on the short pass to White. Rashad split left, Sammy White right. Kramer wants to throw. Up the middle and hit it out of the hand of Rashad. You will not see Rashad drop one like that too often. He would have been close to first down yardage had he held on.
The Vikings are coming right out to the air. First 2 plays are passes as Tommy Kramer, who had an excellent game last week. There had been some doubt as to who was going to start. last week. Bud Grant didn't tell anybody. Finally, he went with Kramer over Dills. Turned out to be an excellent decision. Kramer had a great game against the Lions, and he's out throwing the ball already today.
3 wide receivers for the Vikings on 3rd down and 8. Terry LeCount, number 80, is in. Ricky Young is out. Kramer complete to Sensor, has the first down. Joe Sensor from Westchester State, first-year man on injured reserve a year ago, and he has a big first down play as Peyton's longest return of the season, 42 yards, got them in position, and they are now in Bucs territory. Here's the defense. Kohler and Leroy Selman. David Logan for the injured Randy Crowder. Lewis, Selman, Wood, and Johnson are the linebackers. Jordan and Washington on the corners. Cotney and Brown, a solid secondary for Tampa Bay. First down, Minnesota at the 44 of Tampa Bay. In motion, the tight end Tucker. Pitch to Ricky Young. Young is closed down after a gain of 3. Kohler was there, number 77, the big guy from Montana State. The loss of Randy Crowder, and then earlier in the season for 4 games, Cedric Brown really opened up the middle of the Tampa Bay defense. They had their problems, but David Logan, a second-year man from Pittsburgh, has improved as the season has gone on.
And there you look at the Rams-Patriots game, 7-7 in the second quarter. That's a big one, AFC against the NFC in that one.
Scott Brantley, number 52, a rookie linebacker, has come in to replace Dewey Selman in this passing situation, 2nd and 7. Sensor backs off the tight end, now comes in motion. Kramer, lots of time. Complete to Rashad. First down, Vikings at the 25-yard line of Tampa Bay. Brantley was there. So was Cedric Brown and Cecil Johnson. But in the traffic, Rashad makes the catch.
There's Mike Washington on the coverage. And notice there are 4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The pass was perfect, and Rashad had the hole as 4 white jerseys make the tackle, but not before they had another first down. And the Vikings are picking up where they left off last week.
Bob Tucker brings the play in. Sensor goes out. First down at the 26 where they spot the ball. You see the Falcons in front of the Saints now, 10-7. Vikings threatening on their opening drive here at home in Met Stadium. Ted Brown dancing, and a flag is down as Brown picked up 7 yards. Was stopped by Dave Logan, the nose tackle, ranging back. However, a flag is down. Also in on the tackle, Cecil Johnson. That catch by Rashad, by the way, his 56th straight game, making at least 1 reception as a Viking.
Holding, number 67, offense, still first down.
Dick Jorgensen with the word that Dennis Swilley is guilty of holding. The umpire is John Keck, the head linesman LaGorrie Haggerty, line judge Dick Handick, back judge Roy Clymer, side judge Royal Cathcart, and field judge Dick Dolak. So it is first down and 20 for the Vikings. The ball spotted now at the 36-yard line of Tampa Bay. There is no score. Tim Ryan and Johnny Morris at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington. Split left is White, right is Rashad. Intended for Ricky Young, incomplete.
And boy, was Ted Brown down the field, right down the middle of the field. He was wide open. There wasn't anybody within 10 yards of Ted Brown, but he chose the shorter back out, Ricky Young, that time. So we may see that play again. They brought both backs out, and one of them was wide open. Unfortunately for Minnesota, Kramer chose the wrong receiver.
Terry LeCount comes in as we see Ted Brown, who had quite a day last week in the win over Detroit. 50 yards of rushing, 140 yards of pass receptions. St. Louis in front of Dallas, 7-0. Otis Anderson going 51 yards for the score. 2nd and 20. Kramer, sideliner, open as White. Danny Reese forces him to the sideline, and then he's dropped there by Curtis Jordan, number 25, and he picked up about 9 yards. It'll bring up 3rd and 11.
They had 2 wide receivers to this side of the field, and you're going to see Rashad goes down the field, and White goes to the outside short, and the timing was a little bit off on this one. By the time the ball got there, he had to stand there for quite a while and waited for the ball. Still, they were late coming up on the coverage. He stepped out of bounds right there. It'll be 3rd down for Minnesota.
Big play here for both teams. Scoreless tie. Minnesota's opening drive. 3rd down conversion necessary to keep it going. They need 11. two wide receivers out to the left. Terry LeCount out to the right. Short drop complete to Sammy White. He'll score. Touchdown. So the Vikings on 3rd and 11 come up with a touchdown pass. Kramer to Sammy White.
What a beautiful play that was. They had both wide receivers. You see White at the top. He just fires right away. Danny Reese here misses the tackle as Sammy White goes into the end zone. Just a straight arrow pattern, and he caught it on the fly. And that's the way to do it in the NFL now, is catch those receivers in stride, in stride.
All kinds of motion along the line of scrimmage on the point after try, and a whole flock of flags. 27-yard touchdown pass. Kramer to White. The Vikings going 57 yards in 8 plays for the opening touchdown of the game, and let's see what the infraction is on this play.
Encroachment defense will save this penalty for the kickoff.
All right, well described by Dick Jorgensen. The Bucks over the line of scrimmage early, so they'll kick it again, and then the penalty will be assessed against Tampa Bay on the ensuing kickoff. Rick Danmeyer for the point after. Holding is Steve Dills. And it is good. So the Minnesota Vikings, with 10:47 remaining in this first quarter, have taken the opening kickoff and gone all the way. They lead it 7-0.
Let's take a look at that. An isolated shot on Sammy White. Notice nobody obstructing him, and they didn't expect Kramer to throw the ball so quickly. Everybody was downfield waiting for the receivers, and the pass was there, and boom, boom, plenty of speed. Touchdown, Minnesota.
So the Vikings will kick it off. Gary Davis, the former Dolphin, awaiting it at the 5-yard line. Tony Davis and Danny Reese are the up men. Danmeyer will kick it off, number 7. 7-0 Minnesota lead. A flat kick is taken by one of the up men. That's the tight end, Tony Samuels. Samuels gets to the 26-yard line, and pretty good position to start from for Tampa Bay on the short kickoff. Fred McNeil made the stop. Here's the Bucks offensive line. Revis and Hanna at tackle. George Arno and Ray Snell, the rookie, for the injured Greg Roberts. Steve Wilson at center. Ricky Bell and Jerry Eckwood will be the running backs. Jones and Higgins, the wide receivers, and the outstanding tight end, number 88, Jimmy Giles. There is a Buccaneer down on that last play, and it appears to be Samuels who returned the kickoff. So we'll have a timeout here as Doug Williams organizes the Buccaneer offense, with Minnesota leading 7-0. First down, Tampa Bay from their own 27. Tony Samuels is up and all right over at the Buccaneers bench. Doug Williams, number 12, who passed for more than 300 yards last week against Pittsburgh, is at the controls. Tony Davis is starting for Brad Eckwood. This is Ricky Bell, number 42. He is shut down right at the line of scrimmage. Matt Flair, number 59, the man to get there with Mark Mullaney, the defensive end, number 77. No gain on the play. Eckwood, Johnny, evidently has been bothered with a muscle cramp in his calf. Tried in the warm-up to go, and obviously still bothered by it. Can play, but they have started with Tony Davis, a youngster they had cut earlier this season and then re-signed him. Now Gary Davis comes in, number 28. The Bucks have 3 Davises at running back, so bear with us. We've got Davises and Johnsons and double names in a number of categories in both teams. Williams to throw, lots of time, and incomplete, intended for Kevin House, who took quite a shot from Tommy Hannon, number 45. It is up and okay. The pass a little bit high, and a lot of zip as usual from Doug Williams. Defensively for the Vikings, Mullaney, White, the veteran Sutherland, and Randy Holloway across the front. Matt Flair, Scott Studwell, and Fred McNeil, the linebackers. Nate Wright is back over on his old left corner spot. Johnny Turner has moved to the right side in the last few weeks. Hannon and Knopf are the safeties. The New York Giants lead Green Bay 14-7 in the second period. We'll be watching that one for you as it affects these divisional standings. Third down. Complete to Gordon Jones, who made a great catch on a tough hit as the ball arrived, and I believe it's Kurt Knopf who was injured. He made the hit on him. What a catch.
He had the inside coverage, and Jones comes to the inside. The pass was up there. He concentrates on the ball, makes the grab, and Knopf really tipped him. He did a cartwheel, hung onto the ball. It's first down Tampa Bay, and Knopf is injured. What a collision.
Kurt Knopf, the fifth-year man from Kansas, acquired last year on waivers from Houston and became a starter. He's a tough cookie, and he'll be back. In fact, it looks like he's saying, hey, I don't really have to come off, fellas. But the trainers are going to make him go off for at least one play.
Well, they're seeing if he can count to 10. If he skips a number, he's in trouble.
Keith Nord has come in to replace him. He wears number 49, the second-year man from St. Cloud State here in Minnesota. Doug Williams on first down. The Bucs from their 41 in the I formation. Straight ahead is Gary Davis, number 28. And he got maybe 2 on the play before the middle linebacker Studwell, number 55, made the initial hit. It'll be 2nd and 8. We mentioned the 3 Davises in the Bucs backfield. Gary, number 28. Johnny Davis, the third-year man from Alabama. Tony Davis, the fifth-year man from Nebraska. Knopf is back in for the Vikings, and Nord has gone out. 2nd and 8. Jones comes wide left, number 84. Isaac Hagan's in the slot. They shift Gary Davis up to the wing right. Pitch out Bell. Mark Maloney wraps him up after a gain of about 3 yards out the right side. It'll be 3rd down and 5. Ricky Bell coming into the game with 503 yards rushing, leading the Buccaneers in that category, and has 32 receptions, leading Tampa Bay in that one as well. Well, you've done a good job when you hold Ricky Bell down to that kind of number. Kevin House is in, 3 wide receivers for Tampa Bay. Obradovich, the tight end, is in as a double tight end with 1 running back. Williams complete to Jones. Nice play. He was wide open and has a first down at the 40-yard line. What a pretty pattern there, Johnny. They had 5 receivers in the lineup there on that play.
And you're going to see Obradovich, number 86, come out and clear the zone as Jones fakes to the outside. And here comes the clearing pattern, and there was Jones wide open over the middle, and Kurt Knopf and Bobby Bryant in on the tackle. Watch Obradovich, number 86. He comes out, clears his own, good pass blocking, and Jones comes in underneath the coverage over the middle with plenty of room.
First down, Tampa Bay at the 40-yard line. They trail 7-0. Hagan's 81 in motion. Ricky Bell, the tailback. It's about 4 straight ahead. Running behind Tony Davis, who was in at the fullback position. Matt Blair made the tackle. Randy Holloway there as well. New England leads the Rams 14-7 in the second quarter. That's a big game. 2 fine teams. St. Louis in front of Dallas 14-0 in the first quarter there. Look at that one. That would be something. The Cowboys upset by the Giants last week and losing more ground on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are soaring. 2nd and a long 6 for Tampa Bay. Bell shifts into the pro set. Slot formation right. Out to Bell. He's got room. Bell to the 20-yard line to the 19 before he's pulled down by Kurt Knopf. And 2 good-looking plays by Tampa Bay have got the Vikings defense.
Kurt Knopf got picked off by Gordon Jones coming across the middle, and he was the man that was supposed to be out there to cover the back out there, and he had to get out there late. It was a legal pick by Gordon Jones because he just came across the field, and then he had to go around him.
You know, they complain about Williams lacking touch in his first couple of years in this league. I think we're just seeing more and more of his maturation. That was a perfectly feathered pass over the linebacker to Ricky Bell. Bell and Eckwood now the running backs. First down, slot formation. And that is Bell being stopped by Mark Mullaney, number 77, who has been a terror defensively the last few weeks for the Vikings. A gain of a yard on the play. And it gets tough inside the 20. 2nd and 9. Mullaney, along with Holloway and Duck White, 3 number 1 picks, 1975, 76, and 78. The veteran Doug Sutherland. And that front 4 that's been playing so well. 2nd and 9. Jones left, Hagan's right. Williams for House, touchdown. Kevin House. On the coverage was Nate Wright, and Kevin House with 4.4 speed just ran right by the veteran Wright, and Williams put it on the money at 7-6.
You talk about a nice offensive drive here. Watch this play. House just turns it on and runs right by Wright. Just tremendous speed, and the pass was right on the numbers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers look very impressive, just as impressive as the Vikings did on their drive. There's John McKay. He's got to be happy about that. He's a little notice he's blowing his nose there. He's a little under the weather. He has a case of the flu, but felt my team's playing football. I got to be there.
Garrow Yepremian, and it's blocked. It was blocked, I believe, by Martin. If not Martin, it was Joe Sensor, number 81, the tight end. And a big point there as Minnesota holds the lead, but just by 1.
4-7-6.
Garrow Yepremian having it blocked. The kickoff goes into the end zone, and Payton is tackled there in the end zone, and he's furious, but he did kind of dawdle around back there, and it was Neil Colsey who put the hit on him, and that draws a crowd, flags, and all kinds of upsets down there. I guess Payton thought the ball had rolled out of bounds, and that no contact should have been made. Colsey thought it was still alive.
Actually, Payton does not have a beef, because that ball was a live ball in the end zone, and Colsey was coming down to try and gain control, and he should do what he did. Payton was just a little bit too lackadaisical, and it was really his own fault. Now, see, he still hasn't got control of the ball. Just now got it, and Colsey had made his commitment to try and slide under there and get the ball.
Well, it sounded like they gave that penalty to Eddie Payton. And they're going to bring the kickoff back, it also appears. So there was, oh yes, there's a flag down here at the line of scrimmage. There may have been somebody offside for Tampa Bay on the kickoff. And those two just may offset each other. So a little confusion in the end zone there on the part of Eddie Payton. On the replay, Johnny, it did not look like the ball had gone out of bounds, so he was still playing the ball, and a little carelessly. And Colsey had every right to go after him there, and indeed go after the ball for that matter.
I think he was a little bit surprised, Tim, that somebody got down there that quickly. Colsey was really hustling down the field as the ball bounced around. Almost made a super play out of it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Everybody's onside on the kickoff, although apparently somebody was offside for Tampa Bay. So they're going to kick it over again, and there's Eddie Payton back at the 1-yard line, and I think the official explaining to him, hey, you got to play that ball there, Eddie, and he had a right to come at you. By the way, when that point after was blocked, it ended a string of 60 consecutive point afters for Garrow Yepremian. 21 of 21 for Tampa Bay this year. So Yepremian kicks it off again, and again it's Eddie Payton, and he drops the ball at the 10-yard line. And they drop him at the 18, close to the 20-yard line. Norris Thomas, former Miami Dolphin defensive back, making the tackle. Baltimore leading the Lions 10-0 at halftime in that game, Johnny. The Lions in a deep slide.
Well, they at one time were 6-2. They're now 6-4 and losing 10-0, so they could be 6-5. And they were leading the Central Division going in, so this division has really tightened up. And one thing for sure, there's not going to be a wild card team from the Central Division. You're going to have to win that division to make the playoffs.
So the Vikings, who took the opening kickoff and drove it down for the go-ahead touchdown, leading 7-6, have first down at their 20. Ted Brown, the lone setback. Kramer wants to throw. Deep.
Oh, he's open.
Open and overthrown, intended for Rashad. Ahmad Rashad was open down the right sideline. A fake pump by Kramer, a pretty play, but the ball overthrown.
He faked the quick post, the slant in, and then Rashad just turned it up the field. Everybody was fooled on it. The entire Tampa Bay defensive backfield. Cedric Brown really went for it, and the pass was just a little bit overthrown, or it would have been an easy touchdown for Minnesota.
The Eagles, 9-1 with the best record in the NFL, lead Washington 17-0 in the second quarter. Philadelphia, and you and I were chatting before the game, they've got a great record, but they've only beaten one team with a winning record so far, the Dallas Cowboys. They've got the tough part of their schedule coming up. Terry LeCount is in at wide receiver. Rashad gets a rest. Second down play, and breaking out of there is Ted Brown. They had him behind the line of scrimmage. I believe it was Leroy Selman and Richard Wood, who had a grasp on him, but Brown broke it out and wound up gaining close to 7 yards on the play.
David Logan also had his arms wrapped around him, and Ted Brown has been one of the big reasons that the Vikings have had a resurgence on offense. He is now really coming into his own, not only as a runner, but as a pass receiver. He caught 9 passes last week, and he's, what did he combine for, 140 yards?
140 yards passing and 50 running, so we had himself quite a day, nearly 200 yards. Rashad is back in on 3rd down and 4. The Vikings lead it 7-6. Kramer has lots of time, and he hits Bob Tucker. Tucker first down to the 43-yard line. And it was the linebacker Cecil Johnson ranging back to get him. And another good-looking pass play.
And you'll see Dewey Selman, number 58, covering him, but Kramer has so much time, there is no rush on him, that he can't cover him all the way across the field. And there's where Tucker finds the opening and gets another first down for Minnesota. But the pass blocking's been pretty good so far for the Vikings.
Tim Ryan and Johnny Morris here at Met Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. 40-degree temperatures. Unusual for this time of year. It's just perfect football weather in Minnesota. First down, Vikings. Play action. Kramer has time again. And this time it's well-covered Richard Wood picking up the release man. That was Ted Brown, and Richard Wood was right there to hit him at the line of scrimmage.
I think this might have been a little screen there to the middle, and I think Brown got a little bit too far there. As you see, the lineman's trying to release, and here's Brown right there. It's supposed to be a screen middle, but he's kind of down a little bit too far, and Wood makes a heck of a play there for Tampa Bay.
The injured player is Dennis Swilly, who's been playing very effectively in the middle. That'll bring in Jim Langer, acquired from Miami in a trade. Number 58, the man who had so many great years with the champion Dolphins. These quarterbacks are off to quite a start, Johnny. Kramer is 6 for 10 and 81 yards. Williams is 4 out of 5 and 63 yards.
And I wonder what Ron Jaworski is. It's 17-0 Eagles over the Redskins. A tough year for Washington and Coach Jack Pardee. As you look at Tommy Kramer, he threw no interceptions last week. That was the first time this season he had been bothered by interceptions most of the first part of the season.
Terry LeCount has come in to give the Vikings 3 wide receivers. Ricky Young has gone out. Ted Brown is the lone running back. In the slot left is Sammy White, number 85. Kramer on 2nd down. Little pressure to the short man, Brown. Gets away from one man, gets a good block. Finally forced out at the 38-yard line, but he has first down yardage. It was Danny Reese, the nickelback, who knocked him out. Good running by Brown.
And good adjustment in the pocket by Kramer. As the rush comes, Selman forces him to go forward. Brown makes the catch, and watch the move he puts on 57 Lewis on this one. Right here, as he fakes upfield, and there goes David Lewis. Says, where did he go? As Ted Brown takes it down the field. First down, Vikings.
Dallas is on the board in the first period against St. Louis. It is now 14-7 for the Cardinals in that game. First down, Minnesota at the 41-yard line. Slot formation right. Both these teams have been moving the ball impressively. Well-executed plays. Flag down as Brown is hit at the line of scrimmage. Surges forward for a couple. The first man to hit him on the end was Kohler, number 77, and Lewis, number 76, the nose man. Flag down. Let's pick it up from referee Dick Jorgensen. The preliminary signal is against Minnesota. Vikings lead at 7-6 on the Kramer to White 27-yard touchdown.
Illegal motion, number 61. Offense went before the snap. Still first down.
Illegal motion against Wes Hamilton, the right guard for Minnesota. The Bucks scoring on a 19-yard pass. Williams to Kevin House. The point after blocked by Joe Sensor of Minnesota. There's Hamilton, veteran guard. He's been hurt. The Vikings offensive line's had a lot of injury, and they're finally all healthy now. Slot formation right. Terry LeCount in as the 3rd receiver. First and 15. Brown straight ahead. Look at him work for 5 yards. Gets it back to the original line of scrimmage. David Lewis, the linebacker from the left side, came in to make the hit, number 57. Got some help from Dewey Selman, number 58. It'll bring up 2nd and 10. Sensor goes out. Tucker comes in, delivering the play to Tommy Kramer.
The Buccaneers are using their basic three-man front. They use a lot of 3-4, and sometimes they bring in the 5 backs. They have the 5 backs in now with just the 3 normal linebackers.
Danny Reese is the extra back on 2nd and 10. Everybody in the pattern for the Vikings. Kramer pumping, now delivers to Tucker. First down, Vikings to the 18-yard line of Tampa Bay. And it's Danny Reese, the nickelback, who made the stop. But the Vikings, with Kramer again working well, waiting for Tucker to open up.
Boy, he's been looking fantastic. Take a look at Kramer here as he fakes the pass. He sees the rush coming, starts the fake of the run, and then is on the run as Kohler is coming after him and still gets the pass right on the money to Tucker. The Vikings look terrific on offense.
First down to the 18-yard line. The veteran receiver, Bob Tucker, leaves, and they have Sensor, number 81, in at tight end now. Play action, Kramer. Kramer trips and finds an open man, but he gets the ball short. As he lost his balance, Kramer, doing his scrambling, trying to get it cross field against the grain to Ricky Young. The ball didn't arrive.
He spotted him, and he was wide open, but he had to stop and try and throw it desperately, or it would have been an easy touchdown because Young had sneaked out of the backfield. You see the play action one way. Now see 34 going to the top of your screen. Kramer's looking downfield, and there he tries to find Ricky Young, but he can't get enough mustard on the ball as Mark Cotney came back to react. But it's a good thing there was some harassment there, or they'd have had a touchdown.
Yeah, and it's a little greasy, that part of the field. It looked like he slipped as he was trying to throw it. Brown straight ahead behind the right guard. Hamilton has a lot of room and picks up 6 yards on the play to bring up 3rd and 4 for the Vikings, who are threatening again now with the ball at the Tampa Bay 12-yard line. And there's a look at the numbers for last week for this young man who was bothered with a knee injury in his rookie year. Selman, Dewey Selman, and Richard Wood put the hit on Ted Brown. And it looks like this young man is about to arrive as a first-class running back in the National Football League.
And we'll have to look at the formation. Now they have the 2 wide receivers not on the same side. I figured they'd be on the same side. Sammy White runs back over. Let's see if he goes in motion.
He's in the slot. Rashad is wide left. Kramer out of the backfield of the tight end. Sensor. Touchdown, Joe Sensor. What a nice play. Kramer hitting Sensor, and the Vikings have scored on 2 consecutive drives since this game began. We're down to 1:23 in the first period.
And it was Sensor who came underneath. You'll see 23, Ted Brown coming out of the backfield, and then he comes back across the Sensor, made a nice little twist move, didn't he?
Sure
did. Came out of the backfield, out of the his tight end spot, got the play.
First-year man from Westchester State, and Danmeyer in for the point after. He's got it. So the Minnesota Vikings move 80 yards in 10 plays. A 12-yard touchdown pass, Kramer to Sensor, and the Vikes lead it 14-7. 6 make it.
Now here is David Lewis, number 57, on the jam. And then he releases, he sees Ted Brown, and a nice move there by Sensor. He goes back the other way, and there's the pass right on the button, and Lewis comes back to react, but he can't prevent the touchdown for Minnesota.
So Danmeyer will kick it off, and we have 1:23 remaining here in this first period. Another short kickoff. Obradovich gathers that in at the 25 and gets to the 31-yard line before he is stopped. So twice now Danmeyer has kicked it to the wall in front of the deep men, and the tight ends, the first time Samuels, this time Obradovich making the return. There are the numbers. A 4:37 possession for Minnesota. Twice now they've taken the kickoffs, the opening one and the Tampa Bay kickoff, and gone the distance for the score. Kramer 9 of 14, 132 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Do you notice how both teams have been hitting the receivers over the middle? A lot of room today.
Let's see whether Williams goes that route, as Tampa Bay has scored on its first drive and they have the ball for the second time. In motion is Isaac Higgins. A little roll for Williams, and that ball well overthrown. The man was open, Gordon Jones, down the sideline at midfield, and it looked like Williams might have thought he was going a little deeper. James White putting the pressure on Williams on the rollout. So it is 2nd and 10 from the 31-yard line of Tampa Bay. I think that figure is 9. Is it not? 9 interceptions?
Only 3%. His interception rate's been very good this year.
Yep. He's 3rd best in that category in the NFC. Ricky Bell. Bell gets only a yard. Studwell is there, number 55. Also out on the corner, Johnny Turner, number 27. Gain of close to 2. It'll bring up 3rd down, and the Bucks now with their first tester trying to keep their drive alive. We have not had a punt in this football game as yet.
Isaac Hagan's in with the play. Of course, it comes in from John McKay, who's talking to Bill Nelson, who is now upstairs.
7 defensive backs are in for the Vikings. Keith Nord and Larry Broom have joined in that secondary. Williams, a deep drop. Up the middle for Jones. He has it. First down for Gordon Jones to midfield. And the youngster from Pittsburgh, with 2 men on him, is pulled down from behind by Bobby Bryant. But that was a big 3rd down play.
Double coverage. Bryant on the short side, and you see Knopf on the deep side, and the pass was just on the money. Perfect pass by Doug Williams. He's really been on target, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. That last pass, really the only bad one that he's thrown. And it looked like it might have been a little confusion on the route, so we don't even know that that was all his fault. The gun is sounded, ending the first period here with the Vikings leading 14-6.